I scaled this pets e-commerce brand to $209,371 per month exclusively using Google Ads just with one single product. And in this video, I want to show you exactly how I made this happen step by step. Now, this is an extremely special case study for me because it actually goes to show you the simplistic nature of the Google Ads platform as a whole and how you can literally scale to multi-six figures in revenue just using one major product for your brand. And that's because so many brand owners believe that they need to do all these fancy strategies in place. They need to have a bunch of different products in order to make this level of scale happen. And this brand shows you otherwise. Now, before we actually deep dive into the actual Google Ads results, let's take a step back to understand this brand on a deeper level. This is a brand which sells one major product in the pet niche. Now, for security reasons, I cannot reveal exactly what that product is, but basically this is sort of a mid-ticket to high-ticket brand because the average order value for this brand in at least the last 30 days has been $353. So by no means is this product cheap within the pet niche in general. But because of the mid-ticket nature of this brand, because the average order value is over $300, we are able to get away with lower break-even ROAS of a 2.8x in this situation. Now, in the last 38 days, or just the last 30 days in general, we have been running at a 3.51x ROAS for this brand. So it's very profitable compared to the break-even ROAS that the owner wanted for this brand. Now, in terms of the types of products that this brand sells, it's actually a major solution to a problem pet owners, especially dog and cat owners, face. Now, this product is right here is very similar to what kind of this brand sells, and not exactly the same, but essentially it's a product which acts as a solution to a problem of just pets which are going to run away, pets that are not really the most obedient, let's just say that. And this product basically stops the owners from having to worry about their pets getting lost or just going away and just doing something that they shouldn't be doing. So it's very much a solution-based product rather than something a pet owner would just randomly want for their pets. And this is actually a very good thing because what happens is anytime there's a solution-based approach for the product, it becomes a lot easier to create an approach based on shopping listings, based around search ads as well, which is an approach that's based around this problem, and then the product comes as a solution for this problem. Now, when we first began working with this brand, which was actually from the beginning, we started running ads on Google right from scratch for this brand. It was roughly in the middle of September, which is when we launched our campaigns. The brand had already started to kind of run some on their own since August, but since September, we have been heavily scaling this brand. And what we first did when we really started to scale this brand during this time period into Q4, because basically by October, November, December, this was doing over six figures a month in revenue, that too very profitably. The first kind of approach we took with this brand was to do a little bit of competitor analysis. That's always what we do, regardless of how much level of scale the brand has achieved, because what we're trying to understand is, number one, how are the competitors showing up with shopping listings? Shopping, because that's the number one way to scale about 90% of the brand out there. And then number two, we're trying to understand how can we place our product listings to be the opposite of our competitors. Now, within the pet industry, within the pet niche, the approaches are fairly similar to each other. First of all, it's very competitive, which is just a given because it's in the pet niche. But second, majority of these approaches, they're very similar to each other. Either they're plain white background approaches or they're lifestyle product images like these ones right here. So there's a pretty much of a balance between these two different approaches, and that sort of created a problem for us initially because since there's a balance, there's no really right or wrong way for us to go about it with our strategy because there's competitors doing both sides of the strategy. They have a plain simple approach as well as a more fancy one. So keeping that in mind, essentially, we had to kind of start with a little bit of a different approach here. And if we go back all the way to September, which is when we really started running campaigns for this brand, you can see during that time period, actually, we were wanting to kind of go with a simplistic approach in terms of the campaigns as to not confuse the algorithm a bit too much. So what we did is these campaigns, which we had running right here, it was basically a majority performance max and standard shopping campaigns, along with a little bit of search campaigns going on along with it. And this was because we wanted to not only go after just shopping in general, we wanted to also launch some performance max campaigns with a bunch of assets in there to force those PMAX campaigns to become display, demand gen, discovery, YouTube, etc. campaign types. And this actually is not the general approach we take. We like to start our PMAX or campaigns in general just going after shopping. But in this situation, because shopping was heavily populated by very big brands and it was so competitive, we decided to take a little bit of a different approach. And in the start, it actually ended up working fairly well. We were running at almost a 6x ROAS here for these cold traffic performance max campaigns, 3x ROAS right here. And this was a 0.59x ROAS because we were also wanting to test a few different approaches in terms of product feed itself, try a completely separate duplicated product feed with a different product image strategy altogether. And we were trying all these things because, again, we were dealing with a very competitive niche in general. So the niche research and the competitor research after that gave us the idea of taking this sort of an approach. But that was not enough, because then we wanted to really make our products, because there was only one major product with a few variations here. We wanted to make these products as competitive as possible. And when it comes to the actual products on the shopping side of things, it's not just about what you do in terms of the SEO strategy, nor is it just what you do with the images. It's a whole collective approach. And what we noticed within this niche is majority of these brands, they already have this collective approach in place. They have very good product titles, which are big. They have reviews in the background. They have special offers, some of them. So it was, again, a little bit more difficult to understand what would be the right step to take in order to make our ads stand out. So what we did actually for the product feed approach itself is we actually did the complete opposite of our competitors. Instead of just going after very big product titles, we actually made ours fairly small, and we did it on purpose because we wanted the users to notice our ads first because of the white space that came below our product titles, and because majority of the product titles by competitors were already filled with a bunch of information. Second, we stayed away from reviews for our products on Google Shopping. Why? Because we wanted to be the opposite of our competitors. Here, more competitors have reviews than those that don't. And again, you want to stand out from the competitors, even if that means not having reviews for some of your products. And this was kind of the product feed strategy we wanted to take here. So that's exactly what we ended up doing initially. And as you can see, even during that time, some of these variations, as well as the main product, which is the first one right here, really started to take off at a decent level of scale. But essentially, to scale to the next level, what we knew is that we had to kind of take things up a notch. We could not just rely on the shopping and search campaign approach. We had to add a bit more things. So from the rest of the year, basically in 2024, that's exactly what became our main goal. One thing we knew before we added these campaign tabs here, by the way, is that this brand already had some Facebook ads and TikTok ads campaigns active. And this meant we could get a lot of that data, use that customer list from there, connect Google Analytics to the Google Ads account to make the algorithm overall a lot smarter, which is essentially what we ended up doing. But over time, as we started testing a bit more with these campaigns, what we came to realize was the following. Number one, Performance Max campaigns outperformed those that were just basically standard shopping campaigns. Like for example, this one right here, or the other ones, which we were originally testing, those were just not doing as well as the Performance Max campaigns approach. So we knew that smart bidding was the way to go with this brand in general. Second, what we knew is that some of these search campaigns, for example, they were doing fairly well, but that was because we were going after search and major keywords based around phrase match and exact match strategies. Now, if you don't know, there's different match type strategies you can take with search campaigns, like broad match, phrase match, exact match. Broad match search campaign strategy is basically when you go after the broadest possible keywords in the market. Phrase match and exact match, it's a little bit more direct and narrow, which is exactly what ended up working here. Now, during that time, the ROAS was low, but over time, it did start to significantly increase. And what we did essentially is in the beginning, especially during this level of scale, when we were just starting to really ramp up the budget for Q4, we wanted to take an approach where it was more Performance Max and standard shopping based, which could then lead to the search campaigns doing well, and then finally that could lead to everything else doing well, like YouTube, demand gen, etc. So that's exactly what we were focused on. We didn't want to just go after horizontal scaling right when we found some initial results. Rather, we wanted to take it as a step-by-step process. First, slowly introduce PMAX and standard shopping, get them to a decent level of scale, then introduce a little bit of search campaigns on the side, get that to a decent level of scale. And once all of that data is working together, that's flowing into the accounts, then we can use all of that data to flow that into YouTube campaigns, demand gen, so on and so forth. So that's essentially what the main strategy had been over time here. But as time went on, as we started getting more and more results, more and more data, the main thing that we started doing a bit differently is we started then focusing more on the back end, because once the campaigns had already been in place properly, once we were already spending $50,000-$60,000 a month, generating back a $200,000 or more per month in revenue at almost a 3.5x and beyond ROAS consistently, that's when we focused our attention on the back end, the product feed improvements, just the landing page design improvements, overall just approach that could improve these campaign results as well. So what we did on the back end is essentially we started working on the keyword side of things. So we really deep dive into the insight section, used a lot of the major cold traffic keywords, which by the way is the same thing we do for so many brands we work with under my agency Your Marketing, which if you run a brand doing over 50,000 per month in revenue, you need some extra help selling to the next level with Google, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com, schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But essentially what we did is that we used some of these keywords within product titles. We improved the SEO strategy for that. We improved the descriptions as well, adding a lot of these description keywords to there. And most important of all, we improved the landing page experience based around the biggest brands in the industry. Now, in the pet industry, there's big brands like Chewy.com and Petco, which absolutely crush it. And that's exactly what we wanted to follow, more so on the Petco side. So when it comes to the landing page, we kind of established a similar approach to this one right here, besides the pickup, delivery, and ship to me options, because obviously this brand was sourcing from China and then they had a fulfillment warehouse within the United States where they were shipping from. So we couldn't really hand deliver or anything along these lines. But beyond that, we had everything in a similar manner in terms of the landing page layout, where at the top, the colors were based around what audience they wanted to see. It was all, the wording itself was based around what they wanted to find in terms of the products, the specifications, technical details, etc. As we scroll down, we also added a bit more of upsells and downsells to the overall landing pages to ensure that the brand was actually increasing the average order value over time. I mean, if we go back now to the last 30 days worth of data, we can see that the average order value has stayed consistent at $353, but some of these campaigns are going all the way up to $400. And that's because now we are focusing different landing pages for the same product, but with different kinds of upsells and downsells on each. So this is one thing you want to understand. When you're not selling too many SKUs, when you're not selling too many different products, the best thing you can do is have duplicated product landing pages for that same product. And you could be testing different titles out on these duplicated pages. You could be testing different product images out, because keep in mind, although it's the same product, if you submit it as an individual product within the Google Merchant Center, Google will treat it as an individual brand new product. And each individual product variation here has a chance of ranking within these top 5 to top 10 listings. So instead of just you having your major product ranked number 1, you could have that same product, but on the duplicated landing pages ranked number 1, number 3, number 4, number 7, so on and so forth, which of course helps you get more impression share, and as a result helps you scale the brand much further. That's essentially what our main goal was here. That's the only reason why we were able to scale with one product to multi 6 figures a month. But the landing page definitely helped, adding all these upsells and downsells. We also did something like this where it was frequently bought together. And in terms of the descriptions and attribute specifications, we ensured that it was very easy to understand, very easy to kind of digest. And overall, the landing page flowed extremely simply, because within this niche, what we found out is that the audience wants more of a simplistic approach. They're more on the 30 years of age and beyond. So they don't really care too much about the fancy nitty-gritty details. They don't care about anything too overboard, essentially. So knowing the audience down to the T really helped in this situation. But that eventually brought us to this level of scale, which right now at this point of time, we have 10 different campaigns running, and we are keeping it at this stage. We don't need to add any more campaigns, because we found out that these PMAX and these search campaigns working together is what is scaling the brand to the very next level. And there's the main strategy that we have implemented here is basically this first campaign is a PMAX campaign with assets in there targeting the main product. The second one includes branded search. So this includes branded kind of traffic. This one doesn't, but surprisingly, this is actually doing well despite one of their only traffic. Third one right here is only a feed-only approach. It's going after a certain kind of product page as well, although it's for the same product. And then we're just testing out different approaches, like I mentioned, where it's certain product pages with different types of traffic. Maybe one is going for the cold traffic only, where another one is going with branded traffic included as well. So all we're doing with these different PMAX campaigns is just testing the same exact product, but on different landing pages individually, trying to A/B test, always trying to figure out which approach is working the best. And this has been doing wonders for us, because this top PMAX is running at a 3.69x ROAS, whereas there's other PMAXs running at barely a 2.47x ROAS. So if we had never A/B tested, we would have never found out that this approach for that same product doesn't work as well as this approach right here. So that's essentially what we're doing. And when it comes to the search campaigns themselves, essentially we're keeping things fairly simple. There's a branded search campaign running at the very top, barely spending any budget, but generating a decent amount of revenue, which is the main goal. Spend as little as possible on brand search while generating as much as possible. And then this is a non-branded based search campaign going after different types of ad groups, all based around different keywords. So the only differentiation here is the different types of keywords we're targeting. We're lumping them together based on relevancy. So for example, if we're selling a dog fence, all dog fence related keywords will be inside one specific ad group. If there's another keyword for describing dog fence, like dog gate, for example, then these keywords will be together inside one specific ad group. And we're just taking a very simplistic approach in that manner. Now, in terms of the ad itself, the ad is just one major ad copy amongst all of these different ad groups which we have running. CTR is running at a 6%, which is not bad, but it's not the best as well. However, it is doing the trick, and we are just going after the collection pages. Again, the collection page is essentially the same product, but laid out in terms of a bundle, laid out in terms of a different product image. It's all essentially the same thing, but just on this collection page, there's only 4 different variations of the product, each laid out individually. It could be a bundle-based variation or the individual product or with a different image, but this essentially is working the best in terms of the strategy for this brand. And that's how we're scaling long term. We're just focusing on these campaigns without adding too much to it. And we're just basically doing vertical scaling and also optimizing the back end. Vertical scaling is where we're increasing the budgets because so many of these campaigns still have limited by budget warning signs coming up. So we need to kind of deal with that by further scaling the brand, of course, by ensuring that the ROAS and profitability is there and it makes sense. But along with that, long term, we are optimizing the back end. We're ensuring that the new data that continues to come in leads us to better keywords and newer keywords, because that's going to ultimately let us add more things to like the search comments, for example, targeting bigger keywords, improve product titles, descriptions, etc. with these newer keywords. It's a very simplistic approach, but it's what does the best for brands with lower numbers of SKUs or just one product stores in general. But if you run a brand doing over 50,000 per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the next level with Google, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen.